going on, guys, and welcome back. Wishing you a good one. I thought it would be time to update the Token Shop Buyer's Guide for Pool 4 and 5. We had a lot of great cards come out this month. We have awesome move cards coming out, and it's always kind of tough, and I get asked on Twitter probably the most what people should spend their collector tokens on. Now, we had High Evo come. We had a brand new meta kind of flush its way out. And personally, I've bought in every single card, and I've played with them a good amount. And I don't say this as like a humble brag or anything. This is more so that I can accurately test these in a lot of different decks and give you guys my honest opinion on what cards I end up using and which ones are just not a good fit in the current Marvel Snap meta. Now, I do want to say today's list is going to factor a lot of things. We have cards staying in pools. We have cards worth an amount of tokens, their viability and how useful they are. And again, this is the core thing. You are buying decks, not cards, right? So you want to make sure that you look at the top meta decks or the best performing decks and go and target cards that you like to use. Some cards are better when put into decks like Knull and others not so much. Now today, I'll be ranking these cards in a tier list in the order in which I would buy them. We have S tier for the best choices, A tier for easy choices, B is a pretty good choice, C is situational, and F is just bad and avoid the card altogether. Now, we're going to start with the F tier, and our first card is Snowguard. That's definitely the worst purchase that you could have at the moment. Not to say there's not, like, very niche uses that you can utilize the card against control decks, but you're never going to pick to use Snowguard over Nebula, Sunspot, Kitty Pryde. A lot of great one-costs have been released, and so Snowguard just somehow continues to go down in value. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even purchase this at 1,000 tokens. Just wait to pull it with the rest of your Pool 3 cards if you're still unlocking those naturally. Definitely the worst card on the list. Now, next up in the F tier, and it pains me to say it, but we have Howard the Duck. Now, I'm actually like a big fan of Howard. I've got like multiple splits on the card. I think I'm going on my third split, and I think he's not that bad, but it's more so how many tokens it takes to buy him, and that got him his ranking in the F tier. If you do have Iron Lad and you like those kind of decks, I think he definitely helps out combo potential. You can combine him with Jubilee, and there's some great results there. I like him in Hella decks. There's a lot of things that he does fit in. But yeah, you know, I probably suggest not buying Howard with your tokens. To me, he seems like one that secondary will kind of put right into Pool 3. Again, like, I like him a lot, but for like most people, he's F tier. Now, moving up to the C tier, we have situational cards, and we start with Stegron as our lowest rated card. And oh man, I gotta tell you, I like Stegron. I think he's for sure like a good card. There's no question about that. But 6,000 tokens, it's just too much for what he does. He can be decent as a counter to Glactus. I actually play him a good amount with Zabu and some control-style decks, even more so with Kingpin, Iron Lad. There's some fun stuff out there. He just isn't like an absolute need in every single deck. I think the better days are to come for him altogether. I do play with him a good amount, but for most people, definitely not worth 6,000. I do have him ranked at the lowest in C tier. Now, next up, we've got Shanna The She-Devil. And look, guys, again, Shanna, not a bad card, but is a bad card in the current meta. Even looking forward to the next couple of months with move and control, it doesn't really, like, encourage you to play her more often. Now, I will say that we got Kitty Pryde, we got Nebula, so there's some better one-drops out there. However, control's really hot at the moment. It's kind of tough to play her with Professor X everywhere, Killmongers in like every single deck because of the rise of these one-cost drops. 3,000 tokens isn't a lot, and you can make her work in Zoo decks, but probably compared to the other cards on the list, this is where she belongs. Moving along, we have a new downgraded card in Negasonic. And again, guys, I'll be honest, I'm actually a pretty big fan of Negasonic. I think the buff helped her a lot. It kind of forces your opponent to contest lanes. I've played way too many Negasonic games, and I can give you a pretty accurate review. I don't think she's bad. If you like Destroy, she definitely works in certain styles of decks. She can enable cards. If you destroy a Sarah, a 6-cost card, a Kitty Pryde, that value is there. But if they use like a Wasp on you and destroys Nega, it can feel bad. If you have Knull, her value goes up a little bit more, and I do think she's going to have a spot in destroyed decks. But for now, this is kind of where I have her. Now, surprising to some, but we have the newest card in Living Tribunal. And again, this is going to be because of the token cost. Now, here's the thing. The jury is, yet to be completely determined for Living Tribunal. I do think if you're going to buy this card, now is the best time because it's going to be probably the most surprising to players. It can make Hella and Mr. Negative decks better. So for those that like to climb with those decks, which you guys are wild, but it can help those feel a bit more consistent. I do think the best is yet to come for the card, and you know, it's going to be somewhat useful as like a tech card. If you're not winning well and you've got a lot going in one lane with like Lockjaw, go ahead and throw Living Tribunal in there to try to get to closed off locations. Definitely might have its uses, but yeah, as of now, in my initial testing, he does seem fun, just not great. Now, lastly, for the C tier, we have Master Mold. And look, guys, I'm going to just get this out of the way right now. If you have Master Mold, odds are, like, you probably love him. You're defending him in the comments, and probably Dara hates me, one of the streamers that just love this card. If you're looking for competitive decks, he definitely has one that works. But that's the thing. He only has a few decks that work, and the cards that he does support, they're, like, nowhere near top of the meta at the moment. I do think Master Mold does have his time eventually. It's just not now. Now, moving up to the B tier, we've got our first big bad, and yes, it's going to be Kang the Conqueror. Now, he might be the most tricky card on this list. I just finished watching Loki. I freaking love the character of Kang, like a ton. And so I try to use him. But the thing is, even when I do successfully get something good with him going on, I still take him out of the deck. I just feel like I don't need him, and I'd rather have something else fulfilling that purpose. His best case is like when you're trying to close the gap to infinite. I think he's good for bluff snapping. He can be helpful in decks that you're trying to get something risky off, but other than that, it's probably safe to skip him because he is the first out in most decks. Now, continuing on, guys, we have Nimrod, who's another card that only costs 3,000 tokens now. And I think for 3K, this guy's a gem, especially for Destroy fans. If you find yourself playing that archetype a lot with the new Venom, with Shuri, Galactus, and Destroy options, man, this guy's tough to track for your opponents. And the more you play with him, the more you get used to his playstyle. I actually like him a lot. I don't know if everybody will like him, but I do think he belongs in the B tier, especially, again, if you do play Destroy. Now, speaking of Destroy, we've got our last card in the B tier, and that is Knull. Listen, guys, Knull just keeps getting better and better. And like I said in the intro, you're buying decks, not cards. So if you have Galactus, he needs to be your next card. He's S tier in that consideration. I don't play Galactus at all, and I have multiple splits of Knull. It's a card that I play a lot. I think he's very interesting, and he does belong in a lot of Destroy decks that are more like in the tier 2 side. He just seems to keep getting better as new cards are coming out. We're getting a new Destroy move card. I just think like he's going to be worth 3,000. For now, he's staying here, so it's even easier to say that it's okay to spend the tokens on him. Now, we're moving up to the second best tier, and that is the A tier. All these are just great cards to get at the moment. And I have Stature as my lowest ranking card in the tier. Now, she was recently nerfed, so you know she's going to be safe from any further adjustments for a while. My biggest problem with her is that she's pretty linear, right? There's not a lot of decks to play her in. She doesn't really belong in a ton of decks, and so, you know, if this card isn't hot at the moment, which it is currently, but if it's not, she just doesn't have that use. That being said, the good cards deck, good stats deck is still very good, and so if you want her, if you have her, still a great card to have. Black Bolt, you know, you get to use him, but overall, you know, obviously less good than she was about a week ago. Now, moving on, all of these cards are like, they're just neck and neck. And next up, I'm going to go with Iron Lad at his current cost of 6,000 tokens. Now, it's no question, I'm probably a bigger fan than most people, if not everybody, of Iron Lad. I mean, I have played him more than any other card, bar none, since his release. I think he is phenomenal in a lot of ways. A good value, just feels like White Queen if you play that card a lot. You can build, and you get better at building the more you play him with decks that focus on getting his synergy. Obviously, Howard makes him strong as well. I love Iron Lad. I think he really opens up some interesting deck plays. He can kind of rise the potential of a ton of decks out there as well. Some people don't love the RNG-ness about him. If you hate like Lockjaw decks or anything like that to begin with, probably avoid Iron Lad, but to me, he's an easy purchase. Now, he could probably be higher, but right now in the given meta, I'm going to have Thanos at this spot. Yes, he is a big bad. Yes, he is 6,000 tokens forever for what it seems. But right now is probably not the best time to get him. Now, there are some highly competitive players that can take Thanos easy to the highest ranks in Infinite. He can have some great deck design around him. That being said, I think like Jane Jaw does just as good of a job than, you know, the Thanos and Lockjaw decks out there, or it's very close to it. This just isn't Thanos' time at the moment. Now, you know, if you play a lot of Thanos, he definitely rewards you if you master the card. I like him a lot. He's always going to be worth the tokens. You can definitely buy him, but this is where I have him. Now, lastly, guys, in the A tier, we've got MODOK. Now, if you've seen like my meta discard guide, then you definitely know that he is really the cog of the discard engine, and he is required. That is probably the best on this list that supercharges one deck to just like easy, just infinite status. Like really solid list altogether with MODOK in it. Has really limited uses, but his uses obviously perform at an S tier, top tier level. The 8 power, what he can do to boost other cards like Morbius. If you like discard, if you're interested in learning that, you can check out that deck guide. And I would probably buy the card if you want to focus on one deck and you only really need like one card when looking at like what other cards you need in your collection. Now we're moving on to the S tier, and these are just the good purchases, guys. All of these are cards you can get and feel pretty solid about regardless of the token cost. And we're going to start this list. I actually have a good amount in here. We're going to start the list with Jeff. His plug-and-play ability is virtually as good as any card at the moment. You can put him in virtually any deck. The meta is control-heavy. 6K tokens, I don't think you should sweat it all that much. This card and the next card are probably going to downgrade somewhat soon, but he is definitely alongside that card, the best 2-cost card, right? This damn cute shark right here is just definitely amongst one of the best cards in the game right now because of what you get out of him. Again, like a card you're not going to regret. He's in line with the other ones on this list. Love Jeff, and I use him on a daily basis. However, just slightly above Jeff, or just neck and neck, I do have Hitmonkey. And this is just going by overall usage of the card. Hitmonkey's fantastic, man. Bounce decks are really strong, and with Kitty Pryde, they're even better. I think Hitmonkey decks are amongst the best in terms of cube and win rate at the moment. And so like with Sarah or with just other decks that involve bounce, you're never going to feel bad using this card. It's extremely strong, and it rewards players massively that learn it. Again, him and Jeff are going to drop somewhat soon, so you can take that into consideration. But I would put him near the top of the list in terms of token value. Now, we have a few left, and we go to Darkhawk, which is just a good card. I love that the guy that balances the game, Glenn, he even said, like, Darkhawk is just a good card. They don't plan on nerfing him from what we've seen. They've tried to adjust, like, Rock Slide, and that's kind of affected his value a little bit. But, man, just for the best value that you're going to get in terms of power on a 4-cost card, and then combine that with how you get his power up, is disrupting your opponent. That's always going to be good. As we've seen, the card can fit into, like, multiple different deck archetypes and styles, depending on what kind of play you like. And he's just solid. And now that he's going to stay in Pool 4, at least for the time being, I feel safer recommending him at this price. But even if he dropped, like, next month, like, he did spend a couple more thousand tokens. But I don't know if he's going to drop, like, anytime soon because Second Dinner just keeps that a mystery. But yeah, a damn good card. Now, another card that is staying in Pool 4 for now and is probably my overall, like, favorite card and best card rated in the game, and that is Zabu. Man, this guy's versatility is off the charts. You have a 4-cost card for just about every archetype, and this guy is going to discount him, allowing you to play multiple on turn 6, play them early, save energy for those high Evo decks. Zabu is like a much cheaper Sarah most of the time. I love him. Very easy to recommend at this spot, and an incredibly great card that for now is staying again in Pool 4. Now, we have 2 more left. Both of them are big bad, so they are going to keep their value for now. And this does consider the current meta. Obviously, this is no mystery. I hate to say it, guys. Galactus. I mean, dude, the guy is getting played at a ridiculous rate. It is as straightforward as a deck can be. You have, like, a slow path of climbing with Spider-Man. You have the 8-cube path with Knull and opponents that think they can win. Wow, dude, this card, easily the most split decision card of what people feel about it. But one thing you can't make up is it's a good card. It's obviously a good card to have, and you can make a deck very quickly that's competitive and, again, straightforward and easy to learn. If you got the card and you want to know how it works, you can check out my guide up above. But Galactus is definitely amongst the highest right now until something happens to the card. And last but not least, it's High Evo meta season, guys. Are you surprised? This guy is effing everywhere. And I think they nailed it with this card. You're getting multiple new cards when you get High Evo, so that's the #1 thing I love. That can create multiple deck archetypes. But on top of that, it's just a great card. A lot of fun. It's a big bad, so it's never going to drop in value. Most of meta decks, I would say, almost all of them, are going to have High Evo in them at the moment. People are pulling their hair out about the card, but they're also coming to terms that he's not extremely overpowered. That being said, a couple cards are pretty strong, but it does balance itself out a little bit. High Evo is just like a bad card in the deck, but you get rewarded with overall good stat cards. Now, lastly, just quickly, we'll talk about Nebula and Kitty Pryde. I know Kitty was free for most of you guys watching this, but she will be in the token shop for other players, and definitely have her rated pretty damn high. Both are just solid cards. Probably both towards around where Hitmonkey is at, the Jeff status, maybe at the top of A tier because they're 1-cost drops and they can fit into just a wide variety of different decks. So there you go, guys. This is going to be my updated token buyer's guide list, considering the next couple of months and what cards are going to be dropping is always a mystery, but just from my personal play, this is what I like. Again, this isn't the correct list. This is my list and the ones that I personally use and or think are the most impactful in the current Marvel Snap meta. If you made it this far, I want to say thank you for your time hanging out today. Hopefully this helps you out with some buyer's decisions. Again, I try to get back to as many as possible, but this is my #1 question asked me on Twitter all the time. Which card should I purchase with my tokens? And so this maybe answered some of those questions. Again, guys, we're trying to get to 100,000 subs. You're probably going to get sick of it by now by the end of June. And if you come to the channel a lot and you want to support, go ahead and subscribe down below. And as always, guys, we'll have lots of deck guides coming. Till the next one, happy snapping.